Investors anticipating a more business-friendly environment under President Donald Trump with less regulation that could spark a resurgence in the IPO market. The U.S. IPO market had stalled post-pandemic, with U.S. companies raising just $32 billion in traditional IPOs last year in 2024. That's according to the latest data from DealLogic. Now, robotics company Micropolis begins trading today. You also have Aardvark Therapeutics going public this week, as well as cybersecurity firm SailPoint rounding out the week as the biggest IPO is set to go public on Thursday. Joining us now for the state of the IPO market, let's bring in Jim Neesen. He's the managing partner at the Connor Group. And Jim, I think the big question here for investors, they went into this year very optimistic that we're going to see this deal pipeline certainly surge or come back to life to some extent. We're starting to see signs of that. How much better is it going to get?
You know, I think it's going to get a lot better. We're really calling it IPO spring. I think you had 2 years where you had winter conditions. A lot of companies were really sort of in the gym around profitability and growth, getting ready for it. There's 1,400 unicorns around the world that are getting ready for IPOs. You also have private equity and venture capital that need to sort of create the flywheel of liquidity. A lot of companies are getting ready. 25 and 26 are going to be hot.
And so with that in mind, I mean, it really goes to show how many companies were just waiting in the pipeline to try and get a sense of not just moving through the election, also trying to get a sense of what the deal-making environment would be like and investor appetites right now. When you've got a market like this that these companies would be entering into, what do the discussions sound like that are playing out as they're certainly looking for investor appetites to be high for some of these companies who have yet to turn a profit?
Yes. You know, I think for a lot of companies, they want to make sure that the business is strong. You have to have a growth story that's quite important. I think now in the time of AI as well, you got to sort of have an articulate AI message, but where it's not jargon filled, where it's sort of like, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. I think also there's a lot of sort of testing the waters out there, meeting investors, sort of doing, getting ready for your roadshow, but you really want to make sure that people understand your business and they kind of come in and they want to grow it for the long term.
How have your conversations changed just with business leaders, CEOs that are thinking about going public? I guess, what is top of mind for them now?
I think the biggest thing is being opportunistic. So you have to be ready. An IPO is a 12 to 18 month type of journey. You got to get ready. It's sort of like getting your house ready for sale, right? The foundation has to be strong and you have to make sure it looks really good. That's the discussions that people are having. How do I invest money in my business to make sure that I'm really ready? Because a lot of times there's going to be long poles in the tent.
And so with that in mind, what are you expecting of the receptions and how companies are able to effectively communicate their story to the street and their pathway as they're now going to be entering into the cadence of quarterly reports and having to continue to give investor updates? Yeah,
it's a new discipline. I think there's a lot of new behaviors that organizations have to create of how do I run my business, how do I work with my customers, but how do I understand and get visibility for the future forecasting? A lot of companies, that's where they struggle. A lot of companies might miss earnings that first quarter. So you really have to make sure you got the people, process, systems, that you understand your business so you can articulate a message to the street.
Are you expected to see any sort of difference or just sort of, I guess, more activity in one sector than the other? And what does that signal just in terms of how investors are thinking about those top investment priorities?
Yeah, I think what's exciting about the markets being at all-time highs is there's multiple sectors that are going to be hot. 3 I'll sort of note. First, around the IT space, maybe AI, cloud computing, cybersecurity, a lot going on there. It's probably maybe a third of the companies in the pipeline. Second is healthcare, biotech, value-based care, med device. That's the longevity traits of our population. And then the third is I'd call growth industries. E-commerce, consumer products, as well as energy, those are going to be hot ones. So I think what's nice is it's broad-based.
We only got 30 seconds here, and I used to love working on the IPO business back in the former days, but you rarely ever saw a company come back from being private, would be previously public, go private, or get taken private, and then make a reboot public offering, if you will. We're going to see that with SailPoint. Why do you think that is right now?
I think the playbook has changed, especially with private equity. Private equity has trillions of dollars of dry powder. That's their playbook. Get great companies, buy them, take them private, make them more profitable, put more revenue in, and then take them public again. There's going to be, Brad, quite a few companies like that.
Interesting. Jim, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the time.